Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Simon Schaefer, the Chief of the Joint Staff of the Minnesota National Guard. I am accompanied today by the Installation Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Corey Bjertness and the Director of Camp Ripley's Visitor Joint Bureau, Chief Warrant Officer Shane Haugen. It's my honor and sincere pleasure to welcome those of you present today, and especially to those of you joining us online. Welcome to Camp Ripley and the 2020 Court of Honor Induction Program. 2020 has been a unique and trying year, a year that has changed the way we operate and introduced us to a new normal. For that reason, and for the first time, we are conducting a live broadcast of today's ceremony for those unable to join us today. At this time, please rise as you are able and remain standing for the entrance of the official party and playing of the national anthem and invocation. Color Guard, post the colors.
You may be seated. Let's begin with just observing a moment of silence on behalf of our fallen. One of the great joys of being a chaplain in the United States Army that I have not backed off of in the last 18 years that I've done this is that it gets to be my opportunity to thank you. And I hope that you hear and feel the gratitude of a grateful nation. But just in case you haven't heard that recently, on behalf of God and country, for all those who serve or support those who are serving, thank you. From the bottom of this nation's heart, thank you so much. Would you pray with me? Gracious God, we gather today to honor those who have distinguished themselves through service and patriotism. We gather to honor those who had the courage and sense of calling to raise their right hand and pledge to take the orders of the President of the United States and the Governor of the state of Minnesota. We also thank you for those who have proven themselves to be servant leaders. And God, we thank you that from generation to generation you raise up servant leaders to protect peace. And we pray that their sacrifices have not been in vain, but that you would faithfully move the world towards a more peaceful time. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Again, welcome to everyone in attendance today. The Minnesota National Guard has been memorializing individuals since 1933, as stated in General Order Number 5, as a perpetual monument in memory of a grateful state and nation. Train features on the Camp Ripley Military Reservation, Little Falls, Minnesota, are hereby named in honor of Minnesota citizens now deceased who served honorably in our armed forces during a time of war. At that time, 159 individuals were honored. Throughout the years, the program has evolved. In the 50s and 60s, we honored 8 deceased Minnesota National Army Guard personnel. In the 80s and 90s, a total of 149 personnel were memorialized. In 1988, the ceremony became more consistent as we held ceremonies biennially during the even-numbered years. In 2009, the board amended the program to host annual induction ceremonies. To date, 497 individuals have been honored with their names etched in the granite walls that line the Court of Honor at the Minnesota Military Museum on Camp Ripley. There are several distinguished individuals here today, and I would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to recognize them. As I introduce the official party and board members present, please stand. The Assistant Adjutant General of the State of Minnesota, Major General Joanna Clybourne. The Vice Chair of the Memorialization Board, Brigadier General Dirk Kloss, retired. Command Sergeant Major Brian Soper. In addition to the official party, joined today by several other members of the Memorialization Board. Please stand to be recognized. The Camp Ripley Senior Commander, Brigadier General Lowell Cruz. The Camp Ripley Garrison Commander, Colonel Josh Seimer. Minnesota National Guard Command Chief Warrant Officer 5, Brent Jensen. Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Pete Panos. The 34th Infantry Division Command Sergeant Major Stephen Whitehead. Camp Ripley Garrison Command Sergeant Major Marcus Erickson. Sergeant Major retired Stephen Kaneen, and Board Recorder Kathy Raji. Thank you, and please know that we appreciate all the time and work that you dedicate to ensure the important tradition of the Court of Honor continues. A round of applause for these board members. In addition to the official party and board members, we have several other distinguished guests in the audience today. Major General retired Gerald Lang, Major General retired Neil Lloydell, Major General Brevet retired Dave Hamler, Brigadier General Sandy Best, Brigadier General Charles Kemper, Brigadier General Stephen Schemenauer, Brigadier General retired Tim Kennedy, and Brigadier Brevet retired Richard Hayes. To any distinguished guests I may have missed today, I apologize and thank you all for attending today. Lastly, can we please take a moment to again recognize any past Court of Honor inductees that may be present today? Would you please stand to be recognized? The Court of Honor, located at the Military Museum on Camp Ripley, provides a prestigious and visible area for the purpose of recognizing and remembering those individuals who have, through dedicated service to state and nation, attained uncommon prestige or have performed highly distinguished service over an extended period of years. This year we recognize the following inductees whose names are now engraved in the Court of Honor. Colonel Robert W. Intress, Colonel Bruce A. Jensen, Lieutenant Colonel Larry A. Osvold, Command Sergeant Major Michael J. Sand, Command Sergeant Major Joel L. Schilling, First Sergeant James R. Rademacher, and Martin J. Skoglund. Please join the members of the board in honoring the select and distinguished inductees and their families.
Our first honoree today is Colonel Robert W. Intress. Colonel Intress enlisted in the Army in 1986 as a combat medic. After a tour in Germany, he joined the Wisconsin Army National Guard, receiving his commission in 1990 from the Wisconsin Military Academy. In 1991, he assessed as the Minnesota Army National Guard with the 1st Battalion, 135th Infantry as a scout platoon leader. Colonel Intress's career in the National Guard spanned over 30 years, including 22 years in the full-time force. Colonel Intress was a trusted and respected leader, as seen by his key assignments, such as the 34th Infantry Division G3 Operations Officer, the commander of the 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 34th Infantry Division, and as the Director of Manpower and Personnel for the Minnesota National Guard. Colonel Intress's operational experience includes his deployments to Kosovo in 2003 and Iraq in 2005. On one of the final missions of his career, Colonel Intress led the 1st and 34th Armored Brigade Combat Teams through a training rotation at the U.S. Army's premier National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California. During the exercise, one of the safest and most successful in recent history, the brigade received nationwide recognition for its successful movement of 6,000 soldiers and over 1,400 pieces of equipment. Ever the service to his country and community, Colonel Intress continues to give his time to many military and civilian organizations in which he is involved. Even in retirement, Colonel Intress continues to mentor soldiers of the Minnesota National Guard, working as a doctrinal team leader in the Mission Command Training Support Program. Today, Colonel Intress is joined by his wife Heather. Together, they reside in Fort Myers, Florida, and recently began a quest to complete their bucket list and focused on time and memories. Brigadier Charles Kemper and Chief Warrant Officer 3, Lisa Jager, submitted Colonel Intress's nomination packet.
Good afternoon, everyone. I promise I'll be short. Distinguished guests, fellow inductees, and everybody. I am humbled and honored to be inducted into the Minnesota National Guard Court of Honor. My career in the Minnesota Army National Guard spanned 25 of my 30 years of service. There are so many people that have made incredible impacts and guided my career that it would be impossible to name them all. But there are a few that have had the most impact, and I would be remiss if I did not mention them. First, my wife, Heather. Her steadfast support and encouragement through the years allowed me to achieve what I did. Thank you to her, my children, Ashley and Spencer. I'm so very proud of your choice to serve in the military. Both are cadets at this time. You honor me with your service. I hope that you find the military life as rewarding as I have. Secondly, there's a few senior officers that for some reason that escapes me now took care of me, watched over me, gave me some hard corrective measures when needed. Major General Nash, Major General Elisario, Major General Erlinson, Major General Lloydell, Brigadier General Kelly, Major General Carell, to name a few. You've had all a profound impact on me personally and in my career. Thank you for your leadership, mentorship, guidance, and the good times in peace and combat that we shared. Thirdly, to the incredible teams that I've had the privilege of being part of. 1st Battalion, 194th Combined Arms Battalion, the Battling Bastards of Bataan, Colonels Vanyo, Seimer, Lieutenant Colonel Rossman, Sanganu, Sergeant Major Lepowski, the core members of my leadership team. The 1st Brigade Combat Team, Colonels Farr, Roweeder, Chief Cullen, Sergeant Major Jumpstead, all the battalion commanders I served with, the brigade staff, and the soldiers of the Armored Brigade Combat Team that made my command tenure truly the highlight of my career. There's a couple people that have been closest to me during my career. Colonel Eric Kurska, thank you for your years of friendship and leadership. Lieutenant Colonel Randy Kasberg, my oldest and best friend in the Minnesota Guard. We've been through so many things together that have bound us together for life. Finally, I'd like to thank all the NCOs and soldiers who have been part of my career. Your mentorship has been immeasurable. Being coached, mentored, and challenged by all of you through my time in the Army was instrumental to my success. Thank you. I'd like to thank Brigadier General Kemper and Lisa, who nominated me, and thank you to the selection committee who saw fit to bestow this honor and find me worthy of it. Retirement is everything that Heather and I have hoped it would be. So we are spending quality time together, chasing our dreams, and making every day count. We actually just finished 2,000 miles, taking our boat from Wabasha, Minnesota to Fort Myers, Florida over the past 42 days. The one thing that I've learned is time is the most valuable asset that we all possess. Do not waste it. Thank you, and God bless.
Our second honoree today is Colonel Bruce A. Jensen. Colonel Jensen received his commission as a field artillery officer in May 1981 from the North Dakota State University ROTC program. He served in staff positions in the battalion through state levels and had the privilege of commanding at the battalion and grade levels. While commanding one of the 125 Field Artillery, he was given the honor of deploying his organization overseas to secure air bases across Europe. Upon their return from deployment, one of the 125 was recognized as the best artillery battalion in the Army National Guard. As the commander of the 175th RTI, with minimal notice, he was able to lead his team in organizing and conducting theater and MOS-specific training to support the organization's deployment missions. Colonel Jensen served as the Construction and Facilities Management Director in his final assignment. In this position, he maximized his skills as a planner. Participating at the national level, he helped develop new and fair metrics that are equitable to all states. He directly contributed to the long-range planning process for the National Guard, including the new division headquarters and the armories on Arden Hills. In addition to his military career, Colonel Jensen has been a steward in the community. He volunteers his time with the Boy Scouts, serving as a merit badge counselor and camp mentor. In these roles, he was able to lead several scouts to achieve Eagle Scout. He's joined today by his wife Sandy. Together, they currently reside in Baxter, Minnesota. Colonel Jensen's packet was submitted by Colonel Wayne Hayes.
General officers, senior leaders, soldiers, and family, thank you for participating in today's ceremonies. I'd like to thank the Adjutant General, along with Major General Erlandson and the Memorialization Committee for selecting me for induction. I'm deeply honored. I'd also like to thank Colonel Retired Wayne Hayes for nominating me to the Court of Honor. Over 42 years ago, I and 4 of my high school classmates decided to join the Guard in Appleton, Minnesota. At that point in time, I didn't realize it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I wasn't sure at that time where my military career would lead me, but over the next 35 plus years, the Guards provided me many opportunities to grow, lead, and be part of an outstanding team. These opportunities included battery, battalion command, brigade command opportunities, along with numerous staff positions to include the State Joint Force Headquarters. Throughout all of these assignments, I strove to leave each assignment better than when I arrived and to improve the capability of the soldiers and units to carry out their missions. Whether it was improving the readiness of field artillery units at all levels, providing training resources, professional military education, and pre-deployment training to our soldiers, and finally, in overseeing the maintenance and construction of facilities at the state, I viewed my job as enabling success of the organization and the soldiers within the organization. Throughout all of these positions, I've been blessed by working for, with, and as part of a truly exceptional team of leaders, soldiers, and state employees. The accomplishments that were made as part of those assignments were as much to do with their efforts as it was my own, and could not have been accomplished without them. I'm truly appreciative and thankful to all of them for their efforts and support. This honor is much to do about them and their abilities as it is my own. So much has changed since I joined 42 years ago in the National Guard. Our soldiers and families are relied upon increasingly to protect our nation and state. The dedication, professionalism, proficiency, and loyalty they exhibit daily serves as an inspiration to us all and makes me proud to have been part of such an exceptional team. And it gives me confidence that our nation and state are in good hands. To all those service members and their family who serve today, thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank my family. To my mom and dad who are no longer with us, I'm thankful to the guidance and love and dedication they showed me while growing up. To my brothers, Sergeant Major retired Brad, Major retired Brian, CW5 Brent, and CW5 Kevin, thanks for your service and support. I'm proud of you and the job you've done and continue to do in your own military careers. To my sisters, Julie and Sheila, despite choosing a different path, they've been ardent supporters of the military and the work that they do every day, caring for the elderly in our hometown, makes me proud as well. Thanks for everything that you're doing. When I married Sandy 28 years ago, my family grew. There are a few of those people here today that I'd like to recognize. I'd like to thank Sergeant First Class retired Pat Ruby and his wife Leanne for all they've done not only for the Minnesota Guard but for our family over the years. I also gained another set of parents in Dale and Alice Gluth. Their support to the family through many times away from home on training and deployment is something that I will be forever grateful for. Even though Alice is no longer with us, she's in our hearts always. To my sons, Tyler and Travis, thank you for the support you've provided during my career. In many cases, it was not easy with frequent times away from home on military duties. I'm most thankful to you for growing up to be the fine young men that you are, dedicated, thoughtful, and courteous. Thank you, I love you both, and I'm so proud of you. And finally, and most importantly, thanks to my wife, Sandy, for everything that she's done. She's truly the cornerstone of our family, and none of the accomplishments that I've made would have been possible without her love and support. Thank you so much, and I love you dearly. In closing, I'd like to thank again Major General Mankey, Major General Ernst and the committee for selecting me for this honor, and I'd also like to extend my gratitude and congratulations to all of today's inductees. Thank you.
Our next honoree today is Lieutenant Colonel Larry A. Osvold. Colonel Osvold's distinguished military career began when he enlisted in the Minnesota National Guard in 1964 and culminated 33 years later when he retired as the G5 34th Infantry Division. In 1968, he received his commission as an armor officer. During his career, he was fortunate to have served as a troop and squadron commander and in a myriad of staff positions at the battalion, brigade, and division levels. While commanding Alpha Troop, one of the 194 Cavalry, he greatly improved the unit's end strength, resulting in a highly effective troop that was later awarded the Armor Association's Draper Award. Colonel Osvold was central to the 47th Infantry Division's highly successful Yamasakura missions in 1984, 85, and 86. Assigned as the Assistant G2, he successfully integrated Fort Snelling's new Military Intelligence Battalion into the 47th Infantry Division's tactical operations, and coordinated the submission of all security clearances for the division and its subordinate units. Lieutenant Colonel Osvold is a founding member of the 194th Regiment, an organization that honors the memory of the Company A 194th Tank Battalion members that suffered during the Bataan Death March. He's also a founding member of the We Care Committee, an organization dedicated to making lives better for deployed soldiers and veterans. Lieutenant Colonel Osvold is involved in several other military and civic organizations. After 33 years of service, he is still finding ways to serve his community. Joining Colonel Osvold today is his wife, Mary. Together they reside in Brainerd, Minnesota. Colonel Osvold was nominated by Brigadier General Brevet Richard Hayes, Brigadier General Brevet Ronald Hine, and Colonel John Pearson.
Thank you and good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank Major General John Jensen, the former Adjutant General of the state of Minnesota, National Guard, for approving my nomination. And I also wish him only the best in his new assignment as Director of the Army National Guard. Kathy Raji, Executive Assistant to the Adjutant General, thank you for your professional assistance in this process. Today is an opportunity to see old friends that we haven't seen for a long time and to meet new people. And I had the pleasure today of meeting someone new, Major Aaron Krenz. He was assigned as my escort today. What a pleasure to meet him, and thank you for your service, Major Krenz. My heartfelt appreciation to those who nominated me, Brigadier General Brevet Retired Richard Hayes, man who I've spent many years with. Brigadier General Brevet Retired Ronald Hine, Colonel Retired John Pearson, thank you. I have many great memories and total respect for the professional soldiers and great leaders that I worked for and with during an exciting and rewarding career. Being a member of the Minnesota Army National Guard was the best choice I made as a teenager, and I am thankful for the valued impact on my life. Over the years, there were some very special commanders and soldiers that were an inspiration to me, and I will mention a few, starting with Lieutenant Colonel James Gardner. He was the commander of the 194th Cav Squadron. Lieutenant Colonel Benton Murdoch, commander of the 194th Cav Squadron. Major General Edward Walden, commander of the 47th Infantry Viking Division. Colonel Ronald Hine, he was my S2, and he was the 1st Brigade commander. Major General Gerald Miller, commander of the Red Bull Division. I've had a great honor and a privilege to serve with the highest level of enlisted soldiers that have helped mold my career. So many that I cannot name them, for fear of missing a lot of them. I cannot forget to mention the high quality of the Red Bull soldiers of today's military. I have the highest level of respect for them as they have strengthened the active duty components mission in Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, and many other locations throughout the world. There are more National Guard soldiers and airmen and women serving on active duty tours than ever before. Please join me in today in commending those soldiers as the finest military in this dangerous world that we live in today. As we have just passed the 19th anniversary of the 9/11 attack on our shores, many soldiers have answered the call to be deployed in the war on terrorism, and to them we say thank you. I have been blessed with a strong faith, great health, and a very special family that I share with you today. My wife, Mary, my 5 daughters, Michelle, Marcy, Melissa, Maureen, and Mallory, and 16 wonderful and very special youngsters, my grandchildren. Excuse me. And today, I would like to honor and remember the 61 men of Company A, the 194th Tank Battalion, World War II Baton, Philippines. Remember Baton. Never forget. Thank you. God bless America.
Our next honoree today is Command Sergeant Major Michael J. Sand. Sergeant Major Sand began his 29-year career on September 11th, 1984, attending basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and advanced individual training at Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana. Sergeant Major Sand held many influential positions throughout his career, and many of the improvements he implemented are still in place today. While assigned in the J3 Training Division, he implemented policy increasing the training seat quota management and reducing no-show rates. His changes resulted in Minnesota becoming a leader in our NGB region. Sergeant Major Sand was a pioneer of our reintegration programs. As one of the key planners, he helped develop the reintegration events conducted for our soldiers as they return home from deployments. The program was so successful, it developed into a nationwide model used by many other states. In 2005, Sergeant Major Sand, as the Operations Sergeant Major, played a large role in the 34th DISCOM's reorganization into 347th Regional Support Group. Today, CSM Sand continues to serve his community as a training and exercise coordinator for St. Paul's Department of Emergency Management. Here, he utilizes his vast military experience to coordinate training events for the St. Paul Fire Department hazmat teams and the 55th CST. Over the years, Sergeant Major Sand has been involved in many military-connected organizations and takes great pride in supporting the St. Paul chapter of the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon program. Sergeant Major Sand is joined by his wife Tammy, and they currently reside in Woodbury, Minnesota. Command Sergeant Major Sand was nominated for induction into the Court of Honor by CW5 Stephen Wentzman.
Distinguished guests, friends, family, to the board, Memorialization Board, thank you for this recognition. It is a recognition that I share with my wife and my daughter. Yeah, excuse me. It's their support, their commitment. I thought they'd be later in the speech. And their sacrifice just many hours away from our family and our special events. So thank you. To Chief Warrant Officer Steve Wensman, thank you for this nomination, Steve. And Gretchen, his wife, wish you could be here today. You've been such an important person, people in my family, to me, to my daughter. Steve was my mentor, one of my best friends, and he's my brother from another mother. We always talked like that. And I'm so grateful that we had all the time to work together, the many years and the friendship we had. Thank you, my wife, Tammy, my daughter, Tessa. You've experienced many days and weekends, so many weeks and a year, supporting the military. All those many consecutive weekends that we were absent while serving as a Command Sergeant Major or First Sergeant, Forward Support Battalion and a Regional Support Group, supporting the return of the 1st Brigade Combat Team, the reintegration events. That was many weekends. It was six consecutive, I believe. But they were tough on the family. And then the months that we separated during Iraq. And today you continue to support me as I continue to work with the terrific men and women in the city of St. Paul. There are times when the job takes me away, and during holidays and weekends. I love you too very much. To all so many soldiers and airmen that I've worked with and have supported me, I would like to acknowledge some of those that were special. The families who gave me strength. Sorry. Go back. Too many pages. The people that I mentioned next have an instrumental part of my success as a military leader, and they instilled my message that I used as a leader and a coach. Mission first and soldiers always. And the faith, family, and academics. And it didn't matter what came first. I wouldn't be here with the direct impact of my parents, John and Teresa. My brothers and sisters. I've learned so much. My brother Claude, he's a retired Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major himself. He's been so helpful and patient all throughout my career. These next few people, because there's so many, but I'd like to recognize a couple of them, demonstrated how I wanted to be lead soldiers, coach players, support families. And I did my best to meet their expectations, and I tried to emulate their demonstrated values to be a better person, friend, husband, father, and leader. They demonstrated the Army values of leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And some of these folks, Command Sergeants Majors, Joe Van Lith, Al Kreutz, Doug Jolene, Robert Boone, Ron Kness, Joel Schilling. Congratulations, Joe. First Sergeant Soli Olson, Master Sergeant Cliff Evans. These were terrific NCOs who led by example. They lived the Army values, and they mentored me in so many different aspects. And Master Sergeant Jim Dillon, he's a very successful recruiter. He shared those recruiting ideas, those information to make me a better retention NCO. As we all know, part of our duty is 10% of retaining soldiers. And Jim helped me to be successful and exceed in that department. Sergeant First Class Al Sonda, Chief Warrant Officer Marv Garvey, Chief Warrant Officer Tom Wilharber, General John Bathke. They guided and mentored me early in my career and helped me get to where I am. Colonel Sean Kempenick, he accepted me as a senior enlisted advisor as a battalion and as brigade command assignments. Thank you for trusting me, sir. Chaplain John Morris, we worked together at the battalion and the brigade and division levels, and he was instrumental in planning and executing the reintegration events of the 1st Brigade for the soldiers and the families. He gave me strength as I executed the duties of a casualty assistance officer for the family of the fallen Sergeant Major Mike Mateo. And thank you, Chaplain. And Lieutenant Colonel Tom Miller, Tom and I worked as casualty assistance officers for the same family. Supported the family of Sergeant Major Mike Mateo. We deployed together in Iraq. We worked together in St. Paul. We continue to work together, even though he's in Minneapolis, I'm in St. Paul, on the incident management team for disasters in our current duties. And this recognition also includes my contributions outside the military. And I wouldn't be able to do this without the direct support and mentorship of a few folks. And there are quite a few others, but these folks have taken time to guide me, help me, and mentor me in my duties post-retirement. Rick and Karen Larkin. Rick is the past director of emergency management and helped me understand public safety aspects of leading and mentoring. Al and Janice Glass. Al was instrumental in giving me an opportunity to be hired in St. Paul and carry on duties that I've learned in the military. We've worked on things from the veteran stand-down to standing up the St. Paul chapter of the Yellow Ribbon. Thank you both for your friendship and leadership. St. Paul Police Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom and Holly, and St. Paul Fire Assistant Chief Matt and Tracy Simpson. They represent the many people that I work with. Thank you for what you do and your service and your friendship. It's because of all of these people and many more, but especially my wife, my daughter, that I stand before you with this recognition and honor. I am a blessed man. Thank you.
Our next honoree today is Command Sergeant Major Joel Schilling. Sergeant Major Schilling's military career began when he enlisted in the Minnesota Army National Guard in 1977 as a petroleum quality assurance specialist with the 47th Supply and Transportation Battalion. Throughout his career, Sergeant Major Schilling served in all facets of logistics. Starting out in the fuel sections, he advanced to the supply sections, and then into the food service lane. His broad logistical background served Sergeant Major Schilling well as his S&T battalion transformed into a new multifunctional division support command. At DISCOM, he was a trusted leader serving as both operations and material management NCO. While serving as a command sergeant major, he saw multiple significant challenges. His organization supported multiple significant missions, the first a state active duty mission during a prolonged state worker strike. Then they were tasked to backfill deploying forces at Minnesota's 2 air bases. Then, in 2005, he took his battalion overseas as part of the 2007 troop surge, ultimately serving more days in combat than any other military unit in Operation Iraqi Freedom. In his civilian career, Sergeant Major Schilling worked as a research and developmental chemist for Ecolab. During his 40 years with Ecolab, he contributed to the body of knowledge in the field of commercial cleaning solutions and is credited with 4 patents. Always caring for military members, Sergeant Major Schilling founded the Military Employee Resource Group at Ecolab, or MERGE, an organization dedicated to assisting military-connected members of Ecolab. He's a member of several veterans organizations and currently serves as the commander of the Minneapolis chapter of the Disabled American Veterans. Sergeant Major Schilling is joined today by his wife Yvonne, and they currently reside in St. Paul. Sergeant Major Schilling was nominated by Colonel Kevin Olson.
Good afternoon, General Cruz, fellow inductees, and distinguished guests. I always have to say when people think that I'm doing well with 4 patents that my wife Yvonne's got 56 patents, so we just have to keep that even in our family. I am humbled and honored to be selected as one of this year's Court of Honors nominees. I wish to thank Colonel Kevin Olson for his work on my nomination, and I'd like to thank my wife Yvonne and my family for all their support. When Yvonne and I got married, during my first 4 years of marriage, I was mobilized and deployed 38 months of those 4 years. There were 3 major influences that have shaped my career. I had the unique experience of being an E1 private through first sergeant in the same unit, the supply company of the Supply and Transportation Battalion. It gave me the opportunity to get a different MOS for each promotion I got. The first 10 years of my career, I had the same first sergeant. That was Lyle Hildebrand. Command Sergeant Major Hildebrand was a role model whose example lasted me throughout my 33 military career. Lyle, thank you. My second major influence on my career was Master Warrant 5 Todd Zimba, who is here today. Todd was a unit administrator when I joined Company A, 47th S&T. Todd came to my parents' house and convinced them to let me enlist when I was 17. We served in the same units the majority of both of our careers. Todd taught me how to be a humble professional and to care for others before myself. Todd, I thank you for all these years of friendship. The final major influence was being assigned to the Fort Knox Warrior Transition Unit after my 16-month deployment to Iraq. This time at the Fort Knox WTU, I had 1 surgery, 9 visits to Walter Reed outpatient, and a surgery at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. This resulted in me wanting to serve veterans after I left the service. I joined the Disabled American Vets and became active. I'm currently the commander of Chapter 1 Minneapolis DAV with over 3,000 members, and I have the honor of serving fellow veterans every day. My other volunteer activities tend to have military twists, such as delivering blood for the American Red Cross to locations such as the Minneapolis Veterans Hospital. Once again, I am humbled, and thank you for this honor.
First Sergeant James Rademacher is our next honoree today. First Sergeant Rademacher's military career began when he enlisted in 1964. He attended basic training and his 11 Bravo infantry training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Upon completion of initial training, he returned to Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 136th Infantry Regiment in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Throughout his career, he served in every enlisted leadership position at the company level, culminating his 37-year career by serving as First Sergeant for a commendable 17 years. First Sergeant Rademacher was a pillar of consistency as he saw his units reorganized through 2 significant MTO changes. First Sergeant Rademacher had the privilege of overseeing his units as they prepared for and deployed overseas to Germany in 1995 and to Greece as part of Exercise Dynamic Mix in 1997. Also, in 97, he led his unit through one of the largest state active duty missions as they supported the flood response throughout northwest Minnesota. First Sergeant Rademacher embraced all of his soldiers. He developed a robust recruit sustainment program, improving ship rates and training pipeline loss rates. During his 37 years of service, he counseled and mentored many soldiers, watching many of them become first sergeants and sergeants major to include one who went on to become the 34th Infantry Division Command Sergeant Major. While he's no longer serving his nation, First Sergeant Rademacher is still involved in his community. He served the Melrose Volunteer Fire Department for 23 years, including 4 years as the fire chief. He's also a very involved member of the American Legion Post 101, supporting their Memorial Day and charitable events. First Sergeant Rademacher is joined today by his son, Chad, and he currently resides in Melrose, Minnesota, and was nominated by Sergeant Major Ronald Klum.
Well, it's not too often you find a first sergeant that's at really a loss for words. Normally, I'm pretty good at just yakking away. It's an honor to receive this award, especially after being retired for over 14 years. So I owe a big thank you to retired Sergeant Major Ron Klug for nominating me, and to the Memorialization Board for approving me as a member of the Court of Honor. I'm sure that there are a lot of other soldiers out there who are more deserving than I am. I've never been deployed to a combat zone. When my unit was deployed, I was assigned as the Rear Detachment NCOIC. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but in this organization, you don't always get what you want to do. Some of the soldiers told me they were glad I was staying back to help take care of their families while they were gone. That helped a little, but not enough. As a first sergeant, I was fortunate to be surrounded with a great full-time staff. It's Sergeant First Class Gary Gamrod, Sergeant Brent Henry, Sergeant Scott Kowski, and Sergeant Keith Tennis. And some guidance from retired Sergeant Major Bob Wentzman, who was my first sergeant. It's not difficult to be successful in this business when you are surrounded by good NCOs and good enlisted soldiers. Quite a few of those soldiers went on to have successful careers as platoon sergeants, first sergeants, sergeant majors, and a command sergeant major. I'm honored if somehow I instilled something in them that helped them make their careers successful. I served with a lot of excellent soldiers, and some of the more memorable ones, one was Lieutenant Colonel Eric Kirska. He was my battalion commander of the 194 Armor. As you know, they were known as the battling bastards of Bataan. Well, one AT, Colonel Kirska decided he should nickname all of his first sergeant and dubbed me the Grand Old Bastard. I think they meant it well, but I'm not really sure. Then there was Captain Durkis, one of my last company commanders. He and I were sent to Washington, D.C. to receive an award from the Chief of the National Guard Bureau for our recruiting and retention program. My wife Julie and I flew out. Captain Durkis met us in D.C., being as he was working at Fort Lee, Virginia at the time. He said, I'm really familiar with D.C., so I'll take you to all the spots to see all the monuments. It was a quick tour. He drove a Porsche. And of course, we can't forget Sergeant Major Paul Herr. And he is the type of guy who would let you run your unit, but he would hold your feet to the fire to make sure that it was done correctly. And I'm sure there's more than one soldier in here that was subject to one of Sergeant Major Herr's on-the-spot corrections. They were quite unforgettable. My family has a history of service in the Minnesota Army National Guard. My older brother, Jerry, joined first, then myself, then my younger brother, Ken, and now my son Chad. Between us, we have a total of 97 years of service in the Minnesota Army National Guard. Thank you. Now comes the hard part. Mostly I need to thank, my late wife, Julie. This award is a tribute to her also. For 35 of the 50 years we were married, I served in the Guard. She did a lot of haircuts, a lot of uniform laundering, as well as raising our 3 kids, running the house, and working a full-time job. She was always a staunch supporter of anybody in the military, especially the soldiers in my unit and their families. She would often refer to a group of NCOs that she knew best as her honorarily adopted, delinquent, misguided, wayward children. And I think they all know who they are. She was a member of the family readiness group, organizing fundraising dinners, packing care packages, shipping to deployed units, and was actually Julie, not me, who took care of making 300 tie blankets and shipping them to the deployed units. I again want to thank everybody who was involved in bestowing this honor on me and on Julie. Thank you to all the soldiers I was privileged to serve with, and to my family, my son, Chad, Jason, and my daughter, Michelle, and their spouses, my grandkids back there, and my great-grandchild who's running around here someplace. Thank you to all the soldiers here for serving your country, and God bless America.
Our final honoree today is Martin J. Skoglund. Martin started his career with the Minnesota Department of Military Affairs in May 1986. He was one of 2 employees that comprised the environmental team. Currently, the team has grown to 17 individuals addressing both conservation and compliance responsibilities of the Minnesota National Guard. Today, that team is an award-winning environmental program that is considered the best in the nation. Throughout his career, Marty developed or enhanced many programs. He built lasting relationships with several resource agencies and universities across the state. In cooperation with these partners, Camp Ripley developed valuable management strategies for a host of species, such as red-shouldered hawks, black bear, white-tailed deer, and Blanding's turtles. In 1993, Marty was essential in launching a research project to collar and track the migration patterns of wolves. The results of this study reinforced what he suspected all along: the compatibility between Camp Ripley's military mission and the environment. Marty saw the value of involving the local community. He started several outreach and educational programs, presenting to over 5,000 students annually. He partnered with the Veterans Administration to establish the Disabled American Veteran White-tailed Deer Hunt, a program that continues to draw dozens of hunters each year. In 2003, Marty assisted in developing the Army-compatible use buffer. The program, intended to create and enhance a natural buffer around Camp Ripley, has resulted in over $50 million in funding to local landowners who have enrolled over 30,000 acres. Since his retirement in 2016, Marty continues to do what he loves most, spending time with his family. Today, he's joined by his wife and high school sweetheart, Tammy. Together, they reside here in Little Falls. Marty was nominated for induction by Jay Brzezinka.
Thank you, and welcome, distinguished guests, family, friends. Change things up a little bit. I'm the civilian on the docket today, but when I see a group assembled of this magnitude, I think, what better time to fire up that environmental presentation and lay it on you? But in the interest of time, we can't do that. But boy, I'm missing a golden opportunity. In all seriousness, I really do appreciate the Memorialization Board for the nomination and selection, and for my dear friend Jay, Jay Brzezinka, who made the nomination and has been by my side for years and years, and has taken great care of me, has made me look good, and he's just a dear friend and someone that I will always remember. When I moved my family to Little Falls, Minnesota, coming from Upper Michigan in 1986, I wasn't quite sure what to expect because there really wasn't a lot to understand as far as the environmental programs for the Minnesota Guard. But what I found immediately was my mission, what I needed to accomplish, was fully supported and embraced by leadership unconditionally. And that means I went through 7 post commanders, 4 adjutant generals, 4 facility management officers, all along the way, never skipped a beat, gave me full latitude to be able to do what I needed to do. And that sounds good, that all these projects, things that got accomplished, but they only got accomplished because I was surrounded with some of the finest staff in the world. They were there every step of the way. They never let me down. They were just tremendous people. And the accomplishments are a credit to their expertise and what they could do. I found inspiration every day going to work as a civilian, to go to work and sit alongside somebody that's willing to risk their life for my freedom every single day. I cherished that. That meant everything to me. It made me way more of a patriot than I ever would have imagined. And just having them and knowing that what I'm doing is going to maybe save their life someday. And knowing that what I'm doing is not to make their life miserable, but to help make things, accomplish the mission of the military, and at the same time protect the environment. And we were able to do that and demonstrate that without any question at all. I found a lot of inspiration along the way in those years, especially with the soldiers that I worked alongside. But when I saw the community embrace what was going on and how interested they were in what was happening out here, that inspired me to know that we were really making a difference. We were making a difference on the ground. And when I bring it home, and then my boys, Jeremy, Justin, and Zach, they took an interest in what was going on. I thought, well, maybe I can convince them to go down that path as well. But they inspired me, and I think, probably the greatest inspiration I got was from some beautiful girl that when I was 17, she swept me off my feet, and we've been together ever since then. Her name at the time was Tamara Jean Popoff, and so she now carries the Skoglund name. But she's been with me. She's made me a better person. She's really an inspiration to me for my entire life, and I couldn't have done it without her. She's really a blessing from God. It is an honor to have my family here today, all my sisters, Pam, Claudette, Marlene, my brother-in-laws, Tim and Chuck, and my daughter-in-law, Andrea, and my 2 grandsons, Tucker and Finley. Just so great. That's where I'm spending my time. That's where my energy is going now. I do find it an honor to be here, and I will always cherish this moment. So thank you very much.
Congratulations again to all of this year's honorees and their families. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium the Vice Chair of the Memorialization Board, Brigadier General Retired Dirk Kloss.
Good afternoon, all. Major General Retired Erlandson sends his regrets, and with that you get me, and there's an upside and a downside. I certainly am nowhere near as eloquent as him, but I'm probably shorter of wind, so we should be wrapping up quickly. this thing does not come together without a bunch of people doing a bunch of really, really great work. And in the environment that we're working in today, there was some new challenges with being able to attend this. And so there's a group of people that opened up the virtual world so we could get more broadcast of this event so you could be recognized appropriately. I'd like to thank Chief Haugen, Sergeant Brown, Chief Zerke, Anthony Housey, Sergeant Hootkamper, Chief Berkey, and Sergeant Hanna for all their contributions in making Facebook Live and YouTube and all of that work so that more people could share in that. And then there's one other person who deserves a lot of recognition, and that's Kathy Raji. She holds this whole group together. She's the glue. There's never an overdue tasker with her. It's all about progress. She puts her head down and makes sure everybody does their job. So Kathy, thank you so much for what you do for us. I'd like to again congratulate all the inductees today. If you were doing the napkin math like I was, there's over 200 years of service to the Minnesota National Guard being recognized today. And that's very, very significant. So I ask you to think about the accomplishments and the inspiration that you heard today. And if you're a member of our organization or you're a member of the Court of Honor, think about that when the nominations come out again early this winter so that we continue to recognize people for what they have contributed to this organization that makes the organization so great. So I thank you all for your attendance today, whether it be in person or virtual, and I thank you all for everything that you will do in the future.
Thank you, General Kloss. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the exit of the official party.
Let us pray. Gracious God, on behalf of all of us assembled here this afternoon who have in the past or who are currently wearing the uniform of the United States Army, thank you for the honor and privilege of being an instrument of justice and peace in the world. But we thank you for all patriot servant leaders who have risen to the season and have given of themselves. It is our sacred duty, our humble duty, and our honor to serve. And now we serve you with our prayerful requests. Gracious God, we are mindful that today all across the planet, brothers and sisters are deployed to protect life. And we pray that you would protect them, keep them safe, and bring them home quickly to their families. We also are mindful that there are those who align chaos against peace-loving people. And we pray that they would repent. However, in the absence of repentance, we pray for justice and strength. We pray for all the nations of the world and pray you would bring forth the heroes of every gender and race, heroes who love liberty and justice more than life itself, heroes who have strong.
Back in 20 minutes to unveil the inductees' names at the Court of Honor site. We hope you're able to stay with us and join us again. We have reserved parking for the honorees and official party in the museum parking lot, and parking is available along the west side of the airfield side of Infantry Road for all other attendees. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you at the museum.
fearful thing to lead this great peaceful people into war, into the most terrible and disastrous of all wars. Civilization itself seeming to be in the balance, but the right is more precious than peace, and we shall fight for the things which we have always carried nearest our hearts, for democracy, for the right of those who submit to authority to have a voice in their own governments, for the rights and liberties of small nations, for universal dominion of right by such a concert of free peoples as shall bring peace and safety to all nations, and make the world itself at last free. To such a task we can dedicate our lives and our fortunes, everything that we are and everything that we have, with the pride of those who know that the day has come when America is privileged to spend her blood and her might for the principles that gave her birth and happiness, and the peace which she has treasured. God helping her, she can do no other.
Our greatness as a nation has been our capacity to do what has to be done when we knew our course was right.
I felt even more honored that I felt like maybe I had made an impact.
You look at what you have today, I mean, it would not be here without the United States military.
It's absolutely humbling.
Community, state, and nation. We still fight those things. When I took the oath of office and said I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, I never withdrew that when I left the military. That stays with me, and it'll stay with me until the day I die.
In simple terms, I just think it means thank you. It's an organization saying thank you, a family saying thank you, a friend saying thank you. It really is just our way of saying thank you to people for their sacrifices, their dedication, and the things that they've done to contribute to our mission.
I was a Sergeant First Class in the United States Army.
I was a major in the Field Artillery, United States Army.
For this nation, the cost of repelling aggression has been high. In thousands of homes, it has been incalculable. It has been paid in terms of tragedy. With special feelings of sorrow and of solemn gratitude, we think of those who were called upon to lay down their lives in that far-off land to prove once again that only courage and sacrifice can keep freedom alive upon the earth.
To me, it's really inspiring.
Well, I'm most proud of the fact that we sustained ourselves for 26 days of combat, traveling over 750 kilometers.
Being a veteran to me is serving my country. It makes me feel proud to know that I'm giving back and doing something for the future generations.
Having been a veteran is a benefit in terms of mentoring youngsters that, you know, there is a need for service to our country, and I'm very proud that I got to do it for 30 years and 1 month.
That shows absolute courage, absolute devotion to an institution that gave him something more.
Well, just to understand the stresses of war, the effect it has on soldiers, and so certainly I wanted to set the example.
I wear the medal, and all of us that wear the medal, and we know that we're victims of circumstance. We had a job to do, and it came to us. We didn't go out and try to find it. We didn't have anything to do with it that morning when we woke up. But it's what happens to all of us at one time or another in our lives, probably. We have to make a decision, and we made it.
I'm proud to join my fellow citizens in saying thank you to our nation's veterans.
Able to operate under enormous stress and ensure your soldiers that you're looking out for them, that you have their interest at heart, that you're leading them from the front, and that you're taking care of them.
You know, you can take one step and change your life forever. For me, it was on Sunday evening, November 14th, 1965, when I stepped onto a Huey helicopter and flew into a small piece of hell on Earth called the Ia Drang Valley Landing Zone X-ray. I had been in Vietnam for 7 months when I went into that battle, but I had never seen anything like this fight, nor have I seen anything like it since, and I thank God for that. Listen, we're not meant to forget these things. We saw them, we participated in them, they're a part of our life, they're in our hearts, they're in our minds. We're not supposed to forget them, we're not supposed to have closure. If you have gone through something like that, as intense as that is, you don't ever forget it. You're not supposed to.
Well, the first winter in '53, when I was there, those of us on the front lines, we just had the remnants of the clothing from the guys in the Pacific War. And everything was light. I didn't have a jacket or a coat or anything else. I was in a bunker, and the guy that they put in with me was killed within about 15 minutes of us getting there. A bullet ricocheted off the ground and got him a boom, just like that.
I think about a lot of times, just some of the things that we went through that unbelievable. We were just young kids off the farm, and since I had 17 weeks training before we went overseas. We did what we had to do, and whether we wanted to or not, it was there, we had to do it. It's hard to explain unless a person goes through it. You just can't imagine. And
fearful thing to lead this great peaceful people into war, into the most terrible and disastrous of all wars. Civilization itself seeming to be in the balance, but the right is more precious than peace, and we shall fight for the things which we have always carried nearest our hearts. For democracy, for the right of those who submit to authority to have a voice in their own governments, for the rights and liberties of small nations, for universal dominion of right by such a concert of free peoples as shall bring peace and safety to all nations, and make the world itself at last free. To such a task we can dedicate our lives and our fortunes, everything that we are and everything that we have, with the pride of those who know that the day has come when America is privileged to spend her blood and her might for the principles that gave her birth and happiness, and the peace which she has treasured. God helping her, she can do no other.
Our greatness as a nation has been our capacity to do what has to be done when we knew our course was right.
I felt even more honored that I felt like maybe I had made an impact.
You look at what you have today, I mean, it would not be here without the United States military.
It's absolutely humbling.
Community, state, and nation. We still fight those things. When I took the oath of office and said I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, I never withdrew that when I left the military. That stays with me, and it'll stay with me until the day I die.
In simple terms, I just think it means thank you. It's an organization saying thank you, a family saying thank you, a friend saying thank you. It really is just our way of saying thank you to people for their sacrifices, their dedication, and the things that they've done to contribute to our mission.
I was a Sergeant First Class in the United States Army.
I was a major in the Field Artillery, United States Army.
For this nation, the cost of repelling aggression has been high. In thousands of homes, it has been incalculable. It has been paid in terms of tragedy. The special feelings of sorrow and of solemn gratitude, we think of those who were called upon to lay down their lives in that far-off land to prove once again that only courage and sacrifice can keep freedom alive upon the earth.
To me, it's really inspiring.
Well, I'm most proud of the fact that we sustained ourselves for 26 days of combat, traveling over 750 kilometers.
Being a veteran to me is serving my country. It makes me feel proud to know that I'm giving back and doing something for the future generations.
Having been a veteran is a benefit in terms of mentoring youngsters that, you know, there is a need for service to our country, and I'm very proud that I got to do it for 30 years and 1 month.
That shows absolute courage, absolute devotion to an institution that gave him something more.
Well, just to understand the stresses of war, the effect it has on soldiers, and so certainly I wanted to set the example.
I wear the medal, and all of us that wear the medal, and we know that we're victims of circumstance. We had a job to do, and it came to us. We didn't go out and try to find it. We didn't have anything to do with it that morning when we woke up. But it's what happens to all of us at one time or another in our lives, probably. We have to make a decision, and we made it.
I'm proud to join my fellow citizens in saying thank you to our nation's
operate under enormous stress, and ensure your soldiers that you're looking out for them, that you have their interest at heart, that you're leading them from the front, and that you're taking care of them.
know, you can take one step and change your life forever. For me, it was on Sunday evening, November 14th, 1965, when I stepped onto a Huey helicopter and flew into a small piece of hell on Earth called the Ia Drang Valley Landing Zone X-ray. I had been in Vietnam for 7 months when I went into that battle, but I had never seen anything like this fight, nor have I seen anything like it since, and I thank God for that.
I see Intress, I see Jensen, A Osvold, Shilling, Sam. I haven't seen Rademacher yet.
Right here, Chief. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. That's right, Dan. He'll hand you the
Then you want them to stand in the middle?
Just, yep, we're photo right here. Yes.
I see General Claus walking.
Yeah, they were all sort of like...
Thank you for joining us for the unveiling of the new inductees into the Court of Honor. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forward to unveil your name and receive your plaque. Colonel Robert W. Intress.
This is yours, not mine.
Oh, you want me to hold it?
Colonel Bruce A. Jensen. Lieutenant Colonel Larry A. Osvold. Michael J. Sand. Command Sergeant Major Joel L. Schilling. First Sergeant James R. Rademacher.
Thank you.
And Martin J. Skoglund. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me again in showing our appreciation for this year's Court of Honor inductees. Thank you to everyone again for attending today's event. This officially concludes the ceremony. For those that are interested, the Viking Club is open for a no-host social. As you depart Camp Ripley today, please drive safely. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I have all the honorees join me for one group photo, please? All the honorees.